When people ask me to name off my favorite adventure game, I usually rattle off the usual suspects, like all the Sierra Greats, Monkey Island, Sanitarium, but I just don't want to come off like a predictable peckerhead who just parrots off the same King's Quest VI! King's Quest VI! The game was a remarkable feat of engineering, especially considering the mixed results of its predecessor.
Like King's Quest V, this too had hand-painted backgrounds, but the bar has been raised considerably. It also featured much better writing, partly from the inclusion of author Jane Jensen, later known for her work on the Gabriel Knight series. The added benefit of better writing not only made a more complex and compelling story, but less dead ends, less instant deaths, less plot holes, less ridiculous puzzles, moon logic, and linearity.
They also learned their lesson from the previous game by bringing in the pros to do the voice work this time around. There's Robbie Benson, who was also the voice of Beast in Beauty and the Beast, as our hero, Prince Alexander, as well as Bill Ratner, narrator extraordinaire. Though, in an odd way, I'm gonna kinda miss Cedric and Sir Greywolf.
Very nice, Sabella.
The story picks up a little after the events of King's Quest V. The castle is back where it should be, and Princess Cassima is back in the land of the Green Isles where she belongs.
Suppose I am.
The 10 seconds that Prince Alexander and Cassima spent together was enough for him to fall head over heels for her and spend all of his time in an unhealthy, obsessive state of mind. But this is a fantasy world. It's not psychosis, it's fate. The magic mirror once again springs to life, and the writers rejoice at having written in the perfect all-purpose plot device 4 games ago.
I don't know what to do. Alexander.
What's this? Cassima locked away in a tower? An imprisoned princess pondering her precarious predicament? To the Alex Cave! He sails out to the rescue, but ends up smashing his boat to bits on the rocks instead. Bravo, Alex. He wakes up on the smallest beach ever created by nature on an unknown island, but huzzah! As luck would have it, the land of the Green Isles has found him! After getting his bearings, he visits the castle to figure out just what the hell is going on, and is greeted by the royal vizier. A pro tip, the viziers, they're always evil. Look, he's got a goatee!
Evil overload! Evil overload!
The vizier, named Abdul Alhazred, which will sound familiar to the Lovecraft fans out there, lays it on Alex that Cassima has sequestered herself in the tower to grieve the death of her parents, the king and queen of the land of the Green Isles, and is taking no visitors. Further, he makes it known that he and Cassima are to be married to fill the power vacuum left behind and reign as king and queen. Something is obviously wrong with this setup, and Alex plans to get to the bottom of the whole mess. Exploring the island, he finds that after the death of the royal family, things completely went to hell. All of the islands are fighting with each other, and each blaming the other for the theft of their respective magical trinkets, and due to the unrest, the ferry between the islands, of which apparently there was only one, has been grounded. Alex comes into possession soon of a magic map which will allow instant transportation from island to island, so this quickly becomes a non-issue, and you can choose from any of the 5 islands at your discretion. You begin on the Isle of the Crown, where you can find the castle, obviously, as well as a few shops. From here, you can hearth to the Isle of Wonder, which is a storybook-themed mindfuck of a place with talking tomatoes, sultry spiders, and warring juvenile wood products. The Isle of the Sacred Mountain, home to the arrogant angel people and the daunting cliffs of logic. The Isle of the Beast, with its many magical traps. And the Isle of Mists, home of the druids, though not yet open to you.
This freedom of travel really gives the game a non-linear feel and allows you to go from island to island and solving the world's problems at your leisure. You really do want to make sure you spend the time to get to the root of the problems between all the warring islands, because this will greatly affect your ending. But more on that later.
You eventually find a way to communicate with Cassima via Carrier Nightingale, and the story that unfolds around you paints a pretty bleak picture. She is, of course, locked in a tower against her will and suspects the vizier and his genie of foul play, perhaps even involving the fate of her parents. Oh, that's right, the vizier has his own all-powerful genie at his disposal at all times named Shamir Shamazel, and has strict orders directly from the vizier to keep an eye on him and to cause Alex to have an unfortunate accident ASAP. You'll come across him every once in a while, taking the form of whatever he wants to try and lure you to your doom, but recognizing him is easy due to his weird glowing eyes. I used to wonder why the genie just didn't try to fry me with a bolt of some kind when I was a kid, but the vizier is trying to present himself as a good guy, so sending his genie out to murder princes of foreign lands would be pretty shoddy diplomacy. So you jump from island to island trying to determine whose trinkets were stolen by whom, solving some very entertaining puzzles on the way, and unlike the majority of Sierra games up until now, employ real logic. You run into the occasional moon logic puzzle here and there, but for the most part, every solution makes a pretty decent amount of sense, which is a real novelty. In a strange instance of series continuity, Alexander remembers a little bit about his rudimentary magical training from way back in King's Quest III.
We shall see how rusty my spellcasting truly is.
And you'll find him quite able to create a few basic spells to help him along, which in turn creates more of a need to explore even further and gather the necessary reagents.
Now this brings up another big point. Now you see, a lot of the puzzles in this game, they're optional. There's actually a couple shortcuts you can take to get into the castle early and break into the castle, confront the vizier, and break up the wedding, but doing so will just cost you points, and you're not going to have enough evidence to really confront the vizier, you're not going to know what happened to the king and queen, you're not going to reunite the islands, you're not going to know his motives. There's a lot left out. So I recommend only taking that route if you really just want to see the bad ending and just to see what happens. So remember, the path of most resistance is always the best way to take.
Instead, you'll want to investigate the death of Cassima's parents, so Alexander decides to skip the middleman and jump straight to the source. After subduing a winged black horse named Nightmare using your aforementioned magic skills, you're flown straight to hell. Well, some kind of purgatory for restless spirits, really, but the point remains. It's here you'll be able to speak directly with a deceased king and queen and discover that they were murdered in their sleep by Alhazred. Aha! But this is only anecdotal evidence, and the only way to prove this to the world is by smuggling them out of the hands of Death himself. Anyone has the right to challenge Death to free souls, and after paying a few bucks to Charon, you get to meet the man face to face to barter for not only their lives, but your own hide as well. Death has seen and heard everything from the souls he's seen over the last half an eternity. He's heard sob stories that have ended dynasties, genocides, plagues, famines, talking owls, but he has never once shed a single tear over any of it. Your challenge is to make the guy cry. Nothing you could possibly say to him would move him in the slightest. However, you'll be in possession, hopefully, of a magic mirror. Showing him his own reflection will show him his own past and remind him of when he was once human and the ponderous weight of the crown he wears, and shed a single gray tear. After the resurrection of the previous monarchs and some solid proof of the vizier's evil intentions, you can work finally on infiltrating the castle proper. The more clever you are with your planning, the more interesting things become later on. You learn through a cutscene that, as with all genies, he has a lamp that he calls home, and whomsoever owns this lamp is the genie's master. None of that 3-wish bullshit either. This genie can do exactly whatever you want for as long as you want. Anyway, via this cutscene, you can purchase an exact replica of this lamp that you can give to your mole inside the castle to switch. Your undercover spy? Jalo, the court jester who remains loyal to Cassima and will work with you for free as long as you can prove your connection with her and that indeed the vizier is an untrustworthy bastard. Instead of taking the obvious route into the castle, you can sneak around the back and magic yourself up a doorway into the dungeon area. It's here you'll discover a hidden room with all sorts of magical trinkets that have been stolen from the islands, proving that Abdul was also the cause of all the unrest that kept all the citizens busy while he quietly takes over control of the entire kingdom. By doing a little bit of snooping, you can also discover that Alhazred is a member of an organization calling themselves the Society of the Black Cloak. Also card-carrying members of the SBC were Mordak and Mananan amongst others, which retroactively engineers this spectre-esque group of evilness bent on causing chaos and global takeover and apparently have members embedded into positions of power all over the world and furthering the classic good versus evil dichotomy.
You also find out that Cassima is planning to have a rather unfortunate accident right after the wedding, making Alhazred the sole ruler of the land. So it really gives you a sense of urgency to stop the wedding, which is set to begin right about now.
Busting into the wedding, you're presented with a myriad of ways to prove the treachery of the vizier and an equal amount of ways to screw it up. Firstly, Cassima seems to be all for the wedding now and wants you put to death. However, the glint in her eye gives her away as the genie in disguise.
If he wishes this atrocious young man's death, then I want nothing more than to see him get his wish.
The guards don't seem to notice this and move to liberate your head from your body, until the newly resurrected king and queen pop in to belay that order and reveal Alhazred murder them both in their sleep. But wait! The slightest resistance somehow foils the facade and the vizier scarpers. You corner him at the top of the tower where the real Cassima is tied up, but you find yourself completely unprepared for any kind of confrontation, and the only weapon nearby is a decorative sword not designed for fighting in any way, shape, or form.
Shamir Shamazel, get in here!
Before you can grab it, however, Alhazred summons his Shamir one last time to finish you off, which he reluctantly agrees to. But presenting the swap genie bottle makes him your bitch, and he offers the standard excuse that he was only following orders.
Yeah, so were the Nazis, Shemazel.
The sword fight, as you might imagine, goes pretty poorly until Cassima saves your sorry ass and stabs him in the back. You have a brief window of opportunity to finish him off while he's distracted, or else he'll call you on your stupidity and run you through. Everything is roses after that.
You called? I just knew you would call me in for this one. King's Quest VI is one of my favoriteest games of all time.
Wait, I thought King's Quest III was your favoriteest game of all time.
I can have more than one favoriteest game.
Is favoriteest even a word?
Favoriteest.
Okay, alright, fine. Prove yourself worthy, and you can stay. Alright, I'm not gonna go easy on you here. I know this game better than anyone. What are the 3 traps on the Isle of the Beast?
Let's see. The 3 traps on the Isle of the Beast, huh? Well, there's the boiling hot water, the archer, and the hedge of roses.
How many forms does the genie take throughout the entire game?
There's the hooded man, a snake, the swimming kid, the gardener, a lizard thingy, a black bird, the old lady, Lady Celeste, and of course, Cassima.
Solve the cliffs of logic, go!
Alexander finds himself, finally, at the top of the cliffs.
It's true. Her power does match my own. Okay, fine. You can stay and finish the review with me.
So Abdul is imprisoned, the treasures return to their rightful owners, and your new genie pal fixes the ferry and transports everyone over for the big wedding of Alex and Cassie. Though if you took the short route, the wedding is bittersweet. The treasures are never found, you killed the damn genie, the king and queen remain dead and their murders never brought to light, and no one gets to attend the wedding. Naturally, this ending is not considered canon.
King's Quest VI left behind a pretty mighty legacy and restored the franchise to its former glory. I almost feel bad I didn't have much to gripe about in this game as I had in games previous. The art was gorgeous, the characters are memorable and endearing, partly due to the excellent voice acting. It had replayability due to its branching paths and less of the massive leap of logic puzzles that have been the plague of Sierra games prior. I have played this game so many times that I didn't even need a reference when making this special. I would play it over and over again to see all the different endings and make sure I saw all the facets of the story and of course to get max points.
Roberta Williams and Jane Jensen made a formidable team, much like we do, and breathed life back into the adventure game genre. Popularity slowly started to wane for more graphically intense games that could further take advantage of the new CD-ROM technology.
This is what I like to call gaming's awkward teenage years. Technology is changing very rapidly, there's hair where there was no hair before, and gaming sometimes goes into these things leaping without looking. This is why we have FMV games.